मेरी है, रा 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 लाइनो मेरी है, बाबा बाबा बल्लू मेरी है, लाइनो भी है, बल्लू भी है, लाइनो भी है, बल्लू भी है, लाइनो मेरी जान।
Raghav sir, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, he's taking another 5 minutes. He'll be joining.
Yeah.
And Raghav sir, उसका मतलब ये जो है, I mean 11 तारीख वाला क्या 9/11 हम कर रहे हैं ना?
हाँ, it's happening. Yeah.
ठीक है, तो ना वो उनको भेज दिया था क्या ये जो अपना?
एक सेकंड रुकिए, we are live ना अभी, we just talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
एक दफा खुश करो हंस करो
इनको पूछ ले लो रे
दुश्मन हमको फेंके पत्थर संजीतना अपना कम दुनिया हमको दे सलाम हम शुरवीर हम रणवीर दुश्मन को हमारे तीर go right now go right now go go right now go right now go go right now go right now go ऐसे वीर देंगे देश के लिए जीवन दिया हमारे ऐसे वीर देंगे देश के लिए जीवन दिया कई लड़ाइयाँ लड़े दुश्मन के मोरे रायों ने दुश्मन को नाकाम किया हमारे ऐसे वीर देंगे देश के लिए जीवन दिया हमारे ऐसे वीर देंगे देश के लिए जीवन दिया कई लड़ाइयाँ लड़े दुश्मन के मोरे रायों ने दुश्मन को नाकाम किया Take I swallow fish, steal from here, steal from there, capture enemies everywhere. We are brave, we are cool, no one can take us off fool. Go right now, go right now, go, go right now, go right now, go, go right now, go right now, go. It's 19 hours.
Namaskar. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Saturdays for Strategic Affairs. So, for a quite while, we have been bringing to you some of the finest, I would say, experts in the domain of defense and strategic affairs. So, me and Prabhat Ghosh sir of Strategic Affairs India, we both have been bringing you this lovely series whereby on various aspects of defense and strategic affairs concerning the country as a whole, India as the epicenter of it all, and the eventual goal is a global power India. And as we have said that making sense of the involved frontiers of international politics, diplomacy, economics, geostrategy, and military power, accomplishing the aspiration of global power India. And today we have the great good fortune of we would be having very, very highly decorated आर्मी पर्सनल लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल शौकिन चौहान और उनका जो व्यक्तित्व है उसके बारे में गहराई से I would be reading out his illustrious profile and alumnus, more importantly of St. Columbus High School, New Delhi. So from that prestigious elite school, he chose the frontiers, the illustrious frontiers of armed forces. And he's superannuated. He retired as the Director General of the Assam Rifles, जिसका कुछ म्यूजिक हम लोग सुन रहे थे, रेजिमेंट के कुछ गान. तो जब तक डॉक्टर लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल हमें ज्वाइन करते हैं, लेट्स एंजॉय दिस म्यूजिकल एक्स्ट्रावेगेंजा फ्रॉम द असम रेजिमेंट. Namaste, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I clear?
Sir. So, hello and welcome to today's edition of Strategic Saturdays, where we have been bringing you a discourse on defense and strategic affairs spanning across the various frontiers of international politics, diplomacy, economics, geostrategy, and military power. And the central objective we have aspired for, along with the Strategic Affairs India, is accomplishing the aspiration of this 133 crore people of a global power India. And today we have been joined in by an extremely decorated officer of the Indian Army, a very, very illustrious general. We welcome Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan sir, who is the PVSM, AVSM, YSM, SM, VSM, and a doctorate. He's a scholarly general, as is generally known in the army personnel. Sir served the Indian Army for around 40 years, 4 decades at large, and he retired as the Director General of Assam Rifles. हम लोग इस सत्र के शुरुआत से असम राइफल्स के कुछ गीत और गान we were trying to hear just to pay our humble respects to that valiant force of Assam Rifles. And Assam Rifles happens to be India's oldest and largest paramilitary force. So a bit about Lieutenant General Chauhan. He's an alumnus of the St. Columbus High School, New Delhi, one of the very elite schools in the Delhi circles who know about it. And then he chose to rise the ladder of the Indian Army. He went on to the National Defense Academy. Defense Services Staff College, the Army War College, and the prestigious National Defense College. And Sir was commissioned into the Indian Army 11th Gorkha Rifles in December 1979. And prior to his appointment as the DG of Assam Rifles, Sir had commanded 1 corps, Indian Army's oldest and largest strike corps, and the 8th Mountain Division in Western Ladakh. So the Ladakh frontier, we all know, for the last 1.5 years, it has been the talk of, I would say, every nooker of this vast landmass of India. So Sir has been on that frontier. He has seen it all through. And 70 Mountain Brigade, both in Shokin in South Kashmir and Eastern Ladakh. In 1984, Sir, as a young officer, he led a detachment of ski troopers on the Siachen Glacier. And he also has vast experience in the conduct of counter-terrorist operations, both in Kashmir Valley and the Northeast, both at the tactical and strategic level. And Sir is an outstanding scholar general with a proven track record, and he was awarded a doctorate from the Punjab University, Chandigarh, for his extremely lovable thesis, India-Nepal Strategic Relations in the 21st Century, which was highly acclaimed by the university. Sir has a very, very vast experience at the apex level, having served in both the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Home in the fields of defense, counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism, and border guarding and human resource management. He also has a vast experience in military diplomacy, since he was the defense attaché at the Indian Embassy in Nepal for 3.5 years in 2004 and till 2007. In addition, he has a vast experience in peacekeeping operations, perspective planning, and capability building at the apex level. Sir has represented India as well as led a large number of Indian military delegations to various international military forums like the United States, Pacific Command, Hawaii, Israel, Italy, South Africa, Botswana, China, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. He regularly contributes articles and columns in various scholarly magazines and is an acclaimed, important voice on India's strategic neighborhood. He's a constant invitee and participant and a speaker at seminars and leadership forums internationally, as well as in important strategic institutions, including the IDSA, which has been named after our late Defense Minister Manohar Parrikar sir, the National Defense College, the Defense Services Staff College, the Army War College, the Officers Training Academy, the Armored Corps Center and School, the Military Intelligence School, United Service Institute, the FICCI, India Foundation, Chanakya Institute, the National Security Guard, and host of other important strategic forums. We are really honored, sir, to have you on this forum today, this evening. And sir has been awarded 5 presidential awards to include the Param Vishisht Seva Medal, the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, the Yuddha Seva Medal, the Sena Medal, and the Vishisht Seva Medal for distinguished service and outstanding leadership and gallantry in both operations and distinguished services in India and abroad. Sir is at present working on a comprehensive book on the strategic relations between India and Nepal. And most importantly, after his superannuation, he was appointed as the chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group in August 2018. And as the chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group, Sir was chartered to ensure that the multifarious insurgent groups engaged in insurgency in the Northeast over the last 7 decades, they follow the laid down ground rules and ensure that peace prevails within the Northeast of India. And during this period, he reinvigorated the peace process and was able to bring in the NSCN-K faction, which is an insurgent group that had broken its ceasefire with the government of India in 2015, back into the peace process. So this was his great contribution towards peacekeeping operations, as we read his illustrious profile. And further, he succeeded negotiating an extension of the lapsed ceasefire with all the Naga insurgent groups. So we are really very honored to have Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan sir with us on today's session of Strategic Saturdays. And I would now request Prabhat sir to just introduce her a bit more informally, and we can take the session further and forward.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Sir, we are really honored to have you on board, sir, today.
Thank you.
And like Mr. Raghav Mittal has already explained, I mean, he has given such a nice introduction about you. It is really illustrious. So please, over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, all of you. Thank you for calling me on the show. I'm indeed honored. And I will try over the next 30 minutes or so to try and introduce the Northeast to you, the problems of the Northeast, and try and give you some idea of what are the issues that actually beset this very strategic space for India. As you're aware, Northeast India is the easternmost region of India and comprises of 8 states, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, and Tripura. This Siliguri corridor that we all talk about is in actually West Bengal, and it has a width of 21 to 40 kilometers, 13 to 25 miles for those interested, which connects the entire northeastern region with the mainland India. This region shares an international border with of about 582 kilometers with the neighboring countries. Just as an idea, to give you an idea of the geography, 1,395 kilometers with the Tibet Autonomous Region called TAR, China in the north, 1,643 kilometers with Myanmar in the east, 1,596 kilometers with Bangladesh in the southwest, 97 kilometers with Nepal in the west, and 455 kilometers with Bhutan in the northwest. So geographically, it comprises of an area of 230 square kilometers, 262,230 kilometers, almost 8% of India. But what is more important is that the northeastern region is actually home to some of India's most diverse, last remaining rainforests, which support diverse flora and fauna and several crop species that are simply not available anywhere in India. It also has numerous reserves of petroleum and natural gas in the region, and are estimated to be almost a fifth of India's total potential. And as you're aware, the region is covered by the mighty Brahmaputra-Barak river systems and their tributaries. Apart from the Brahmaputra, Barak, and the Imphal valleys and some flatlands between the hills of Meghalaya and Tripura, the remaining 2/3 of this area is hilly terrain interspersed with valleys and plains. But being 8% of India's landmass, it has a population of just about 46 million, with 68% of those living in one state, Assam alone. Assam also has a higher population density of 397 persons per kilometer than the national average of 382 persons per kilometer. The literacy rates in the states of the northeastern region, except those in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, are higher than the highest national average of 74%. In the 2011 census, Meghalaya recorded the highest population growth of 27.8%, higher than the national average of 17.64%, while Nagaland recorded the lowest in the entire country with 0.5% negative. But what is important when we speak about the Northeast, and that's its people. The people of the Northeast, India has 220 ethnic groups and an equal number of dialects. The hill states in the region like Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Nagaland are predominantly occupied by tribal people with a degree of diversity even within the tribal groups. The region's population results from ancient and continuous flows of migration from Tibet, the Indo-Gangetic part of India, the Himalayas, the present Bangladesh, and Myanmar. What actually distinguishes these states from the rest of the country is the sensitive geopolitical location, with the existence of diverse ethnic groups, with very, very different historical backgrounds. The Northeast as a whole is not a single entity that you all think about, but it comprises of 8 states, like I said. The region is also a gateway to Southeast Asia. It is bordered by, as I told you, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, China. And the tribal communities are living on the fringe of 3 great political communities. This is what I want you to again understand, that the tribal communities in the northeast of India are living on the fringe of 3 great political communities: India, China, and Burma, or Myanmar as it is known today.
Okay.
Historically, some of them played roles of buffer communities and others the role of bridge communities between the 3 great political communities. The northeastern region is of immense geopolitical importance. Why? Because of its terrain, its location, and the peculiar demographic dynamics, and is one of the most challenging regions to govern. It constitutes only 8% of India's landmass, but the 40 million population accounts for only 3.1% of India's population. So that's the kind of issue there is as far as the Northeast is concerned. But what has happened? Why has this post-independence, the history of this region, been marred with so much bloodshed, tribal feuds, protracted deployment and operations by the army and the Assam Rifles, which though have been instrumental in reducing the levels of violence and bringing some kind of sanctity and restoring the social situation to allow civil governance to function. At present, in almost 4 of these states, there is an uneasy peace. Having realized the futility of continuous violence, several insurgent groups have resorted to suspension of operations, to ceasefire. As you read out in my biodata, I was responsible for ensuring the ceasefire between the Naga insurgent groups. But the main thing of this ceasefire is to actually pave the way for negotiations or the resolution of problems. That is the main issue that we must always remember, that ceasefire is not an end to itself. It is the beginning of a resolution. With the Naga insurgency, we've had ceasefire from August or September 1997. It is 2021 now. That means almost 25 years or 24 years. But we haven't yet been able to sign or bring about complete resolution of all the problems that exist in Nagaland and its connected states, Assam, Manipur, and Arunachal Pradesh. As I told you, it's a diverse place, it's a diverse country, and almost 200 plus tribes speaking a wide range of languages inhabit this area. Some of these groups have migrated over the centuries from places as far as Southeast Asia. And many of these tribes retain their cultural traditions and values. So when you talk of this issue, you also have to remember that the region borders with China, Myanmar, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. And this has had a major influence on its socio-economic fabric. Now, who were the earliest settlers to this region? As per historical records that are available, the earliest known settlers of the Northeast were the Austro-Asiatic speakers, followed by the Tibeto-Burmese. And the Indo-Aryans were the last to arrive and therefore associated Northeast with the balance of the Indian landmass. For most parts of the first millennium, this region was known as Kamrup. The medieval history of this is that the Shans established the Ahom kingdom in most of the Brahmaputra Valley in the first half of the 13th century. And this was the Ahom kingdom, which fought the Mughals and fought the Burmese Empire. But unfortunately, like most of India, came what we call the British influence. The British had started in that, establishing themselves from 1818. The reason why I am actually taking so much time with geography and with history is actually to tell you that these two factors play a major role in the security situation of the Northeast. And with the coming of the British, it created even more chaos. So, as I said, the British started establishing themselves from 1818 onwards. They were the first Anglo-Burmese War of 1824. The Burmese were defeated and they had to sign the Treaty of Yandabu. Consequently, the Burmese withdrew back to Burma and the Ahom king ceded a part of his territory to the British East Indian Company. The advent of the British rendered the Ahom kingdom extinct by 1838. And from 1839 to 1873, this region was administered by the British under part of its Bengal province. Part of this northeastern region is classified under the excluded area or the partially excluded area and brought under what they called the inner line regulations, which still exists, mind you, even in independent India. 74 years after independence, we have continued the inner line regulations to most of the northeastern states. But this isolation and separation actually denied national mainstream to the tribals and inhabited their and actually stopped their exposure to modernity. The people in the plains considered the hill tribes uncivilized, nomadic, while the hill tribes considered them outsiders and looked upon them with distrust, thereby laying the region for permanent hostility in this region. Now, what happened post-independence? In 1947, large parts of the Bengal province were merged into Assam, which started the slow immigration into Assam, initially of Bengali Hindus. However, there was a major influx of Bengali Hindus after the massacre in East Pakistan. That means from the 21st of March 1971, there was a huge influx of Bengali Hindus into this region. And that is why, if you remember, the first Assam Accord that was signed, wherein they would identify foreigners, was actually, the date was 24th of March, 1971. That is the time when the Bengali Hindus started streaming into this region and started settling down. By the 1970s, after Bangladesh had been created, and because Bangladesh was such a poor country, many Bangladeshi Muslims also started immigrating as well. And consequently, because of this, agitations commenced in 1979 over this grossly illegal immigration. Because of this immigration and this vast influx of people, massive strain of additional population could not be borne by Assam, and things began to crack. An anti-foreigner agitation, as we're all aware, started in 1980, and the Assamese border tensions further aggravated the situation. Anger and rape or rage amongst the Assamese population crept in as their land was claimed by others. The whole problem is about land and culture. The area is marred with insurgencies which continue even till today due to the clash of interests and territorial claims. The potential of communal tension, as you saw recently between the states of Mizoram and Assam, there's a huge potential of communal tension all over the Northeast. And today, Assam has a border problem with Mizoram, with Manipur, and Nagaland. And this potential of communal tension is there due to the rapid increase in the population of immigrants and the overlapping areas of interest. And these need to be monitored very, very closely. Now about Arunachal Pradesh. The Arunachal the tribes of Tibeto-Burmese origin points to a northern connection into it. Recorded history of this area is available only in the Ahom and Sudhya chronicles. I don't know if you're aware that the Buddhist connect with Lhasa as also the 6th Dalai Lama is believed to be from Tawang, which is a part of Arunachal Pradesh. Ahoms held the area till the annexation of India by British. In 1938, the Survey of India published a detailed map showing Tawang as a part of Nifa. And finally, Nifa was created in 1934. Nifa, as you're aware, was the Northeast Frontier Agency. And it was created in 1954 and renamed as Arunachal Pradesh on the 20th of January 1972. It became a union territory and finally a state. Let's talk about Nagaland, since I spent the last 2 years of my post-retired life. I spent in Nagaland as the chairman of the ceasefire monitoring group. Nagaland borders the states of Assam, Arunachal, Manipur, and Burma. It is inhabited by 16 major tribes as well as a series of small, or what you call sub-tribes. The Naga tribes have always had a socio-economic and political links with the tribes of Assam and Myanmar. When I was trying to get the NSCN K group, that means the Congo group, the Congo is a Koniak who was leading the National Socialist Council of Nagaland insurgent group. And I asked him what was he actually looking for, as a final solution to this insurgency. And what he told me was that he wanted that all his Koniak brothers, that means the tribes that existed both in Nagaland and in Myanmar or Burma, would be unified. So the final solution lies in, if you talk to the insurgent groups, lies in the situation that they want all Naga areas to be unified under one particular state. When the British East India Company took control of Assam in 1826, but by 1892, all of Nagaland except Tuensang was governed by the British. Tuensang still remained independent. It was politically amalgamated into Assam, which in turn for a long time was a part of the province of Bengal. It was probably due to the work of the Christian missionaries that transformed the state of Nagaland, and many of the Naga tribes embraced Christianity. In 1957, the Naga Hills became a district of Assam, and statehood was granted in 1963. And the first state level elections was held in 1964. Now, Manipur is a totally different story. Unlike the ungoverned state of Nagaland, ungoverned before it became a state, Manipur, on the other hand, was a kingdom. In 1824, the king of Manipur, Gambhir Singh, asked the British to help. From whom? From the Burmese kingdom. And he asked the British to help, and Manipur became a British protectorate. In 1826, peace was concluded with Burma, and Manipur became a princely state under the British rule in 1891. In 1949, Maharaja Buddha Chandra was summoned to Shillong, the capital of the Indian province of Meghalaya, where he signed the Treaty of Accession, merging his kingdom into India. And now, as I told you, let's talk about the state of Mizoram, because these are the 3-4 states that have the larger problems at the present moment. The state of Mizoram actually is a study of amazing, of a very positive role on how we were able to bring peace here. It's amazing how when you look at the state of Mizoram, you actually look at the fact that we have been able to bring peace in this particular place. The state of Mizoram had an accord and we were able to bring peace in this particular place. But let me tell you more about the peace of Mizoram. The state is the remotest part of Northeast India and has a large borders with Myanmar and Bangladesh, then with the states of Tripura, Assam, and Manipur. The word Mizo means Highlander. Maximum population of the state is tribal, belonging to 7 major tribes. And now this is where, if you remember, there was a recent border problem with Assam. What does it actually mean? Where does that? The larger population, the British officers in 1850s had encountered a series of raids on their official jurisdiction in Chittagong hill tracts from the neighboring natives. And punitive British military expeditions in 1871 and 1889 forced the annexation of the entire Lushai Hills. It is these Lushai Hills which were demarcated in 1838 that Mizoram says is the state of Mizoram, and not any kind of border agreement that was signed after this. In 1947, the land became Lushai Hills District under the government of Assam, and because of inadequate action by the government of Assam during the Motam famine of 1959, a political group called the Mizo National Front, which was earlier the Mizo National Famine Front, the MNF, came into existence. This district was later declared a union territory in 1972 and finally a federal state of the Indian Union in 1986. Tripura is the 3rd smallest state in this country. At present, it is mostly peaceful. It is bordered by Bangladesh, Assam, and Mizoram. The Bengali Hindus form an ethnic linguistic majority in Tripura, with indigenous communities forming more than 30% of Tripura's population. In 1970, Tripura suffered a major influx of Bangladeshi, leading to population inversion. And this princely state was merged with the Union of India in 1949. It became a full state on the 21st of January, 1972. I would request you all that in case you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
By finishing this lecture or post. So I'm more than happy to answer them. Would you like to ask any questions or should I go further?
So first and foremost, thanks a lot for summarizing this complex history of Northeast, because for we in the northern part of the country who don't have visited, what are the complications of these small but very substantive states? So you have really opened our eyes towards this complex milieu in such a lucid fashion. Thanks a lot for this, because every state is coming with its own aspirations, with its own complexity. And this is really, I would say, Northeast, it looks like as if it's a Northeast region, but then it's a universe in itself. That's I would say, Prabhat sir, what do you...
Yeah, that's true. Actually, living in the north of India, we are not much aware of that. Northeastern states, and particularly this complex nature of security situation there. And there are many bordering countries as well. So in that, basically, what are the things going on? Since sir has been instrumental in this peacekeeping process as well. We would like you please continue, and then at last we will ask a few questions if we have.
Sir.
You know what might happen is in the continuous narrative, certain situations might get lost. Mm-hmm. That's why I've finished the geography, I've finished the history. I am now coming to the political parts of this issue. And I will identify for you what the problems are. And then I will say in the next 10 minutes, finish up, so that you can leave the rest of people having some questions. Otherwise, the continuous narrative tends to get boring.
Yeah. So one of the questions which comes to us is, like, as you said in your introductory comment, that this whole area has 3 major political players. So China, we all know that it's a bully of the world and it's being contained in a big way. India is our own country. How much is Myanmar active? How much the influence of Myanmar, Burma, as we is over there in the scenarios out here, sir?
In their collective consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
many of these tribes have actually migrated from Myanmar or Burma. Myanmar,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they have migrated from there.
Okay.
So their kith and kin live across the border. I will give you an idea. Let's start from Mizoram.
Mm-hmm.
The dominant tribe are the Chins.
Okay.
And the Chins are actually the political leaders of Mizoram, whether it is Lalthan Haula or whether it is Zoraman Thanga or Laldeng.
Mm-hmm.
All are Chins. Right? Chin is a province or a state in Burma or Myanmar.
Okay.
Where even in Aung San Suu Kyi's government,
Mm-hmm.
her two senior vice presidents
Mm-hmm.
were of Chin origin. So recently, when the Myanmar army took over the political leadership of Myanmar,
Mm-hmm.
there were a number of Chins who took refuge in India. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what happened was that while Manipur, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh tried to shut their doors or their international borders with Burma,
Mm-hmm.
Mizoram simply refused to do so.
Okay. They have their connect, their
They simply
civilization
can't.
connect.
They are brothers. We can't stop them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it is so important for us that when we talk about the Northeast, we have to talk in sync with the existence of Burma, of Myanmar, with the tribes living across the border,
Okay.
and with them with each other. You can't get peace in one single state. These are the political complexities of a place like in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like I said, when I asked Khango, who was the leader of the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, an insurgent group under his own name, Khango, and asked him, I said, why are you still fighting? He said, we will keep fighting until we are all unified.
Until we are unified.
Yeah, all the Naga brothers are unified for this issue. So you might have peace, temporary peace.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to look at a longer peace, you will have to look at some way by which you allow this kind of unification.
So you mentioned a bit about the British involvement in this space. So would you like to just please reiterate what kind of fault lines Britishers, as they were masters of divide and rule, what kind of fault lines they brought into the tranquil or the qualm of the natural order during their reign, just to gain political prominence?
See, you have to go to the fact that the Ahom kingdom had been decimated by the Burmese Empire. And large parts of Assam, Manipur were under the Burmese Empire's control.
Okay.
It was the king of Manipur that requested the East India Company to come and assist him and help him get his kingdom back. So once the British came and defeated the Burmese Empire between the First and the Third Anglo-Burmese Wars, the British took over the complete kingdom of Burma and integrated Burma with the Northeast and with India.
Okay.
But as I told you, what did they do? They delineated several parts of the Northeast as inner line, isolated areas, and did not let these tribes integrate with the rest of the country. So even today, that these tribes say that we were independent before the British came, as you were independent. we both were taken in by the same empire. And after the British left, we both should go back to being independent of each other.
So that's their own subnational aspirations which
Absolutely.
drive them. Okay.
This is the context of what the Naga nationalism feels. That we were independent tribes. We were a part of an independent region. Nobody was allowed to come inside us.
So, but are we not being able to placate them, bring them to our mainstream? So are our cultural connect not that strong?
You yourself, Prabhat, and you, both of you are aware that how much of the Northeast do you actually know? Okay. And if you don't know about them, then how can you integrate?
True.
So, but with the creation of this domain, this Northeast region, and that particularly with the initiatives of this government, the present government, what is the scenario basically? I mean, on ground, is there something substantial?
Donor is the Department of Northeastern Region.
Right. Sir.
It is just not possible for it to deal. It is basically doing the job that the Northeastern Council used to do earlier. There used to be a Northeastern Council that still exists.
Yes, sir.
In Shillong. The headquarters are in Shillong, where money used to be funneled to the Northeastern Council, and from there it would take out projects from various Northeastern states. Now the Department of Northeastern Region from Delhi does that. So if you take it from the Northeast and push it to Delhi, do you think things will improve or worsen? If the bureaucrat in Delhi is going to decide which road he has to create in the Shillong region, then there is something seriously wrong.
I think yes has also he has raised his hand. Yeah.
Yes, I think yes.
So my question is that since we have seen the Narendra Modi government take over in 2014, so Mr. Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, has been very vocal about Northeast. He has been very vocal that the Northeast region has to be our gateway to the South Asia, to the East Asia. जो East Act policy हमारी, वो बड़े vocal रहे हैं उसके बारे में कि हम infrastructure develop करेंगे, हम highways बनाएंगे, हम connect करेंगे East से. But do you think actually हुआ है ये on ground? या ये बस वो typical political talk है?
I would urge you all to go there.
Okay.
I would urge you all to go there and just see the road that comes from Guwahati to Dimapur. That is the national highway. And from Dimapur to the state capital of Nagaland, that is Kohima. And from there, going from the state capital of Kohima to the state capital of Manipur, Imphal. I would urge you to take that road. Then you tell me whether this road is worth an integration of these northeastern states. These are state capitals. You take internet, you take electricity, you take schools, you take universities of higher learning. They don't exist.
Okay.
Industries don't exist. So if you have no place where these children can learn, if you have no place where these children can get jobs, then how can you call it an integrated place?
And this is generally said, if your communication system is not better, good. I mean, how there will be to and fro transportation, anything. I mean, any communication system. So in that case, developing anything over there is something difficult task actually.
After 75 years of independence, if we can't develop a road, then there's something wrong. I must tell you a little story. This is about a small place in Arunachal, which the Assam Rifles discovered in 1961.
Okay. And
people living there didn't know which part of the country they were, which country they belonged to. But unfortunately, after making it a part of India, we haven't even connected it to the road. So that seems to be the issue that we are fighting here, that when you are integrating people towards you, these are issues that you must see. Okay? So it should not be a political agenda. It should have much more greater meaning. So now I'll go to the next point that I wanted to cover. The cover of the evolution of insurgency. Okay? And after this, I will stop and then we can have some discussion.
I have just one question, sir, if you may allow.
Please.
It's regarding the CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Bill. So we all know the kind of dissent that happened 2 years back when the CAA bill was passed in the parliament. Especially, like promise tha Assam Accords ka वहाँ के लोगों के लिए, तो people felt very disheartened, they felt betrayed कि आपने हमारे साथ गलत किया है CAA को लागू करके. So what do you think about that?
Okay, let me explain it to you. I explained it to you a little earlier, but maybe you didn't get the context.
Okay.
You know, the migration, illegal migration that started into the state of Assam started in the late 1970. And after the Pakistan army started its massacre of Hindus or Bangladeshi Muslims in what is known as Bangladesh now, which was East Pakistan then, they started the massacre. And when this massacre started on the 21st of March, 1971, all these people who were running away and became refugees came into the state of Assam and Tripura. This caused a population inversion. The Assamese, the Bodos, these were tribes living as it is on the fringes of their life. Suddenly found a large part of their land had been taken over by these refugees who came. So when the agitation started in Assam in 1980, the Asu Agitation, All Assam Students Union, when that started, the main issue was that, look, all the people who came after the 24th of March 1971 should be declared as foreigners. Why 24th of March? Because the massacre started in Bangladesh on the 21st of March. So all these people started running.
Right.
Now you signed a sovereign agreement with, now the student leaders have become, chief minister, Prafulla Mahanta and all the chief minister. And your job was that by 1989, when you signed it, by 1990, 95, 2000, you should have identified these foreigners. Now, by an act of parliament, you have changed the Citizenship Amendment Act to the 31st of December 2014. That means all the people who have come and the demographics of the state have totally changed. You have now made them legal. So you tell me what you feel, whether you feel that it is legal or illegal. You know?
So again, it's a top-down approach, sir. If it would have been more a decision by the Assam people themselves, their say into that the deadline which they had set. So Indian Parliament has superseded that.
True. And that is why when you have the CAA had its own political compulsions. But for Assam, this has meant a great problem.
So I think as a Northeast citizen of India, if I'm a Northeast citizen of India, I feel, first of all, this region and the people from this region have not been valued enough, first of all. First of all, our culture is different from the main of India. Second of all, we have some basic tribes, the way we live. Secondly, you did not even honor those agreements due to your political compulsion or whatever. Third of all, there is no access development to connect us to the eastern part or to the main Indian part. So do you feel it is right from their part to feel betrayed by the central government?
So when you talk to them, when since my job was to talk to the insurgent groups and to sit down with them, I was leading, as you all know, you read out my biodata, I was the Director General of the Assam Rifles, which is the force that was actually fighting this insurgency. And from that point, after I retired, the government decided that I should come there as the chairman of the ceasefire monitoring group. It is that time when I sat down with these insurgent leaders and started talking to them that I realized how betrayed they felt. And they explained this to me. They said, sir, firstly, understand, like I told you, Khango told me, that we are cognacs. We are divided by land on the ground. Half my tribe is in another country, and half the tribe is there. I am fighting to integrate. Similarly, what do the others feel? We have made certain sovereign promises to them. The 1946 agreement, the Akbar-Haidari agreement with them, 9-point agreement, which was signed in 1946 as a precursor to get them to accept the idea of India, was that we would renegotiate this merger after 10 years. But by 1950, we had said there's no question. We don't accept that particular renegotiation. There will be no renegotiation at all. Agreed that we will not renegotiate. That is part of our country, part of our nation state. Now we cannot renegotiate. But we must cater for certain amount of issues here. Similarly, before we created the state of Nagaland in 1961, we had a 16-point agreement with them. We also said, and through the 13th Amendment of the Parliament, we said that give them what you call Article 371A, which says your tribal laws will be paramount.
Okay.
Your lands will not be touched. Right? Tribal laws are paramount. Lands will not be touched. Your culture and social issues will be governed by you. After we abrogated 370, they feel they're next.
Okay. Got it.
So it makes them insecure. And they're minorities. The state of Nagaland has 2.3 million people in a country of 1.4 billion. What is 2.3 million?
23 lakh.
23 lakh. So, as people and as people who understand, we must accept that there are certain things. If we have said and Article 371 Alpha says that their tribal laws are paramount, and that all our states have political flags. If they say we want a flag for our state, where is the problem? We have agreed to it earlier. Why should we not agree now?
Okay.
And if tribal laws are paramount, then accept the fact that they can call their tribal laws anything they want. The idea is that they are minorities and we should be accommodative towards minorities. Is my line. Government feels differently. I am a part of the government and I will agree to anything the government says.
Prabhat sir, at this juncture, I would like to extend a compliment to the Honorable Lieutenant General sir. Like being an army personnel, he's talking with the suaveness and sophistication of a diplomat and far more than a diplomat. So this is, sir, we would like to know the secret behind, because generally in the public perception, army people are all about war and conflicts, winning people over. But your entire approach is accommodative, and that's what peace brings in over there. So it's truly a compliment. And if you would feel like answering or commenting, you're most welcome. But this was just a compliment we just wanted to extend to you, sir.
There is that Hindi word called dil se.
Dil se, yes, sir. Sir has actually seen it closely.
Talking to people, when you realize dil se ki isme itni kharabi nahi hai.
Nahi. That's true. Right, sir.
And that minorities must be we have to be as the majority,
Hmm.
accommodative of the minorities.
Mhm. True, 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 true.
You
Sir,
have
one
to
curiosity which
integrate them.
emerges. Yeah.
You
Please,
have to
please.
integrate them. You
Yeah.
have to give them educational institutes.
Mhm.
You have to give them industries. You have
That's
to give
very
them
right.
jobs. You have to
Yes.
teach them. You have to build their roads.
Mhm.
You have to treat that place much more than you treat mainland India.
Mhm.
Or
So,
just
looking at the topography from this Google map, what it emerges is like Assam is all of a plain state largely. Like, and
Yes.
these other 6 states, like Manipur, again has a lot of plains. Somewhere it's a valley. So, between Myanmar and between India, like the accessibility traditionally had been more from these zones of Myanmar to the northeastern
No
states.
doubt. You can see that you have put the thing on the Google map and you're showing that. And the valleys are in between.
Uh-huh.
Brahmaputra Valley and the Barak Valley, these are the two river systems that are there.
So,
And all these rivers flow and they flow between the mountains.
mhm.
These tribes live on the fringes of these river systems,
Mhm.
on the hills.
Okay.
So we have to start connecting these roads.
Yes.
And sir, how much of the China factor is there in Myanmar? Like, and because is Myanmar going to become the next Pakistan that way, sitting in their lap? So, what is that security concern for us apart from our internal turmoil? Because that's where the next focus of MEA has to be, or whatever, on developmental aspects.
Let me just give you an example that
Sir.
it will make you understand how important Myanmar is for us.
Mhm.
In World War II, there was the Eastern Front, right? Which was being fought by the Japanese.
Okay.
And it's the Japanese who entered through China, then on to Myanmar and came right up till Kohima. You are aware?
Yes.
The final battle of Kohima took place where they were defeated in 1944. And from
INA.
So if the Japanese army could come through Myanmar from China, surely the Chinese army can come through Myanmar.
Okay.
The Lido Road still exists.
Mhm.
China is building roads in Burma,
Mhm.
right? But I must tell you what a particular Burmese general, no names, told me when I went to Naypyidaw, the Burmese capital, a couple of years back. He took me aside and he said, "General, we have a common enemy." And
Okay.
this was 2017. So Burma will not be that easy for the China to control. They are very, very clear about the problem with China and an embrace with China. They simply have no money.
Okay.
And because they have no money, they have to seek economic help from somewhere. They also need, like us, roads. They also need to feed their people. And China is willing to help them out.
Mhm.
But if the Japanese could come through this road and come into Northeast, China can use the same road.
Okay. I think a terrific eye-opener, Prabhat sir. Sir's vast 4 decades of illustrious hands-on experience. Like, as sir said, that how much we really know about Northeast, and it comes to us that when there is a talk in Delhi circles about Act East policy, I think it is about Act Burma policy primarily, because that is the country which is really on the foothills, other side of our major states. And as sir said, that accommodativeness, that 371A, भाई क्या दिक्कत है दिल से कि accommodate them into the larger union, which can be a bit flexible. That's what a lattice structure is all about. When you have flexibility, you are the strongest.
And the Indian and our constitution is an amazing constitution. It has had so many amendments.
Yes.
We can surely, get the people of the Northeast inside. We have agreed. We have 371A, B, C, D for all the states of the Northeast. Now we have to give them the reassurance that we will not ever touch this. It is yours. I know the Prime Minister has it, but they simply don't believe it anymore. And while on the other hand, you talk to a local Naga boy or girl, they don't think they have a future outside India.
It's 20 hours.
They don't have.
Okay.
They don't think of, of getting into any kind of problem with the fact that they belong to India. When we have reached a state where integration is now easy, let's go further into this and integrate them more. We need to bring institutes of higher learning there so that those children don't have to go to Delhi or Bangalore or Pune to study.
Very right.
Apne dena hai. You have to give an IIT there. You have to give engineering colleges there. You have to give medical colleges there. You have to give much more than what you're doing now. How will you bring them inside? Aap Delhi mein hai, you tell me where is the place for the northeastern children to study? And where is the place for them to live? I was in Nagaland when this COVID Corona ka, stoppage and lockdown happened. I know the state of the parents who were so worried for their children. How will they come back? These are tribal societies. They are extremely close to each other.
Yes.
We were all the time worried. How will my child come back? The country is locked. Where will they stay? How will they eat? All restaurants closed down. All hotels closed down. Universities closed down. The children had to leave.
पर सर जैसे हम
started after a month.
सर जैसे हम शांति और प्रेम की पहले से ही बात करते आए हैं, तो यहाँ पे हम शांति और प्रेम क्यों नहीं दिखा रहे हैं? लाइक कि मतलब जब हमारे ही देश के लोग हैं और इंडिया में अक्रॉस द कंट्री काफी सारे ट्राइब्स हैं, ये हैं, हम अगर औरों के लिए एकोमोडेटिव हैं तो नॉर्थ ईस्ट क्यों अलग सा रह जाता है? ये जबकि ये गेटवे है बहुत बड़ा, हमारे जितने भी बॉर्डरिंग नेशंस हैं उधर, उसके साथ हमारे रिलेशंस और अच्छे करने के लिए।
प्रभात, व्हाट आई फील इज कि हम सिंपली इनके बारे में सोचा ही नहीं। It is not that we have any policy of not accepting. It is just that we have not thought of anybody. We have not thought of these issues. And आपने जो मेरे को बोला डोनर मिनिस्ट्री है या ये है, how can a bureaucrat sitting in Delhi decide?
Delhi, yes.
So probably donor has to be relocated somewhere in the northeastern space. That is the re-engineering we are thinking about.
After all, वो northeastern council भी तो शिलोंग में था. The council was located in Shillong.
Yes.
That was at least a place where they could go. Now we've seen since last year, March 20th or so, when we've had the lockdown, we know how difficult it is to travel. You simply could not travel. तो आप फिर क्या करोगे?
Okay.
And these children started reaching back home through special trains only by the end of the month of May last year. They were in first year college, second year college. आप सोचो, if your child was, in first year college, how old are they? 16, 17?
17, 18.
Yeah.
Young girls living in Delhi. ना आप पैसा भेज सकते हो, ना वो रह सकते हैं रेंट में. The colleges close their hostels. कहाँ जाते हैं बच्चे? So there are real problems. We have to really look at them with a very dispassionate and compassionate eye. And
Dispassionate and compassionate. Lovely.
हमने इनको help करना है. We have to integrate them into our great country. The tools are there with us.
They don't need sympathy, rather empathy.
Yes. Yes.
And we have to bring in economic movement there. Words will not help. It has to be done, and has to be done with people actually going there and saying, Prime Minister जी ने हमको ये बताया है कि आपने ये करना है, मैं इधर रहूंगा, तो करो.
Yes.
But sir, I personally feel that the reason Northeast region को इतनी इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं मिली क्योंकि पॉलिटिकली इंपॉर्टेंट ही नहीं। आप गिन के 25 सीटें आ रही है 31 स्टेट से।
नागालैंड has one Rajya Sabha seat and one Lok Sabha seat.
हाँ,
Manipur
So
has
why
2
will a-
Lok Sabha seats.
why will a party make so much effort?
बिल्कुल कोई नहीं करता यार. You know,
I think we come to the close of this very, very lovely and a very educative session. And this is the eve of Teachers' Day. And Sir has really brought about the entire edifice of education, because that can be a game changer to these lovely Ashtasakhis, as Prime Minister has coined the term. It is being talked about by the Chief Minister of Assam in a big way. That kind of a camaraderie is being at least talked about it, but sir ने जो कहा कि दिल से उसको आगे बढ़ाना, dispassionately and passionately, उनके साथ empathy लगाना, और उनको जो accommodative structure है, एक fear होता है कि हमारी सभ्यता, हमारा culture, because that was all a part of the larger Indic pantheon. We had Krishna, Gujarat and Manipur had a connect. We had all kind of Nagas over there. So maybe a lot of talk is there. It has to probably translate, as sir has said, कि आप लोग शिलोंग से दीमापुर जाकर, अब इस गूगल मैप पे तो नहीं दिखेगा, वास्तव में जाना पड़ेगा, but it is a tough thing to really tread over there.
दीमापुर से गुवाहाटी is 6 hours of a very bad road.
6 hours.
And from Guwahati to Shillong is another 2.5 hours. So to reach from Kohima to Shillong is 11 hours.
And nobody can afford the air travel so very easily.
No, there is no air. Na? Air to doesn't arise.
Guwahati, हाँ.
Guwahati airport, उसके अब दीमापुर to Guwahati तो एक हवाई जहाज है, which goes right 3 times a week.
Even one of my cousin was posted in Tawang, All India Radio. So he was like कि 1 साल के अंदर उन्होंने कि कैसे मतलब मैं तो यहाँ जिंदा ही नहीं रह पाऊंगा, something like that, because पहाड़ी पे जैसे उनको हार्ट का भी प्रॉब्लम था. So पहाड़ी पे जैसे, so once again he got his transferred back to this Bihar.
No, you must study the story of a place called Vijayanagar, जो मैं आपको बता रहा था. Which Assam Rifles found was a part of India in 1961. अब अभी तक इस विजयनगर के लिए आपने एक रोड नहीं बनाया. That means these people actually walk 16 hours to come to the nearest road.
My God.
उधर एक airport है, airstrip है, but the airstrip has not been repaired. So how will you help them? You read the story of Vijayanagar, and I have taken this issue up at the highest level. Here, at least Vijayanagar को तो connect करो.
I think with this, I think our homework, a huge burden, Prabhat sir. This is because a lot of talk has to really translate into action.
We have to make our Prime Minister's thoughts into reality. We have to. And for this, we have to go with compassion. We have to accept with compassion, and we must integrate with people. Otherwise, insurgency आपकी resolve नहीं हो.
And these are fighter tribes. These are the tribes who fight for their honor. They die for their honor, and we will have a very tougher situation going forward. So thanks a lot, sir, for this enlightening session. What a illustrious learning what we have got, and we really resolve from this forum that we will try whatever we can to really put forth. And I personally feel somewhere that instead of having a donor ministry, we should have a donor division in every ministry of the country, in every ministry.
Absolutely.
So that you have to think very, very strategically about this Ashtasakhis. You talk about it, but see, Thailand, it is a global tourist destination.
Absolutely.
So why cannot? It's very close, and what a lovely terrain. And thanks to Google, that they can show us this lovely, beautiful, I would say, topography. That what stops us to really, I would say, reverberate them. World Tourism Day is just round the corner, and why not? Northeast can be really brought back as the center of the focus
and indicate them dil se.
Indicate them with this. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks so much, and we are really indebted for your lovely session. Thank you.